In Achara village, there lived a woman called Madam Japa. She was a voluptuous lady who sold bean cakes known as Akara at the village major junction. Everyone in the village loved eating her Akara because it was thought to be very palatable and the most delicious in the village. People came from far and wide of the village to her stall to buy her food, even the king's household. In the village also, there lived a girl called Amara. She lived with her parents and siblings. Her parents always sent her to buy akara every morning, which they used in drinking pap, and they loved it so much. Her parents never ate any other food in the mornings except Madam Jakpa's akara and pap. You could smell akara from miles away, and only the aroma drove people to buy it. One day, certain things began to be noticed in the community. People started to pine and become very skinny, while Madam Japa kept growing voluptuous. As the days passed, people fell ill with ease, and the village herbalist house became overfilled with sick patients. The king had to summon the village priest to find out what was happening, why people were getting skinny and sick in the whole community. It was a thing of concern. The village priest, upon throwing his divination, shouted, "Who is this Akara seller that's toying with the lives of the people in this village?" "What?" the king exclaimed. "An Akara seller toying with the lives of the people in the village?" "Yes, my lord," the priest said, looking at the king in disbelief. "There are many Akara sellers in the village. How do we know the one that's responsible for this act?" the king asked after the priest had finished consulting the oracles. It was known in the village that whatever the priest said was true and a reality, because through him many things had been happening in the village that had been uncovered. He would throw his divination, say what was happening, and it was actually like that, and solutions were often offered by him. Different people in the village suggested different things and ways to solve the problem. They wanted to find out the culprit and solve the problem once and for all. But they could not arrive at the solution to handling the problem. The king therefore gave the priest. He told the priest to go back to his oracle and consult with them again to find out the culprit in any way he knows will be properly done, in a way that it will not frame someone as if the person was being accused. He gave him an ultimatum of 7 days to come up with what could be done to find out the culprit and solve the problems. He was to go back to his shrine and ask the gods of the ancestors of the land what should be done. Meanwhile, when they had all this passed, life continued in the village of Achara, and the people's condition continued to deteriorate. The king had to send the village crier to go round from street to street, from one place to another, to announce to the people that whosoever was making anyone in the village to go sick and lose weight must desist from it. Otherwise, there will be repercussion on that person when found, and the person will be driven out of the village. The village crier went round. After the announcement, it increased instead of stopping or lessening. People even fell more ill. The priest was tired of curing people. So the village priest got angry and continued searching asking the gods of the land what he would do to solve the problem. And on the seventh day, the last day given to him by the king, he came up with a plan and went straight to the king to tell him. He sought to see the king privately to discuss his plans because he didn't want anyone to know what he was planning, so that they will not counteract his actions. The village priest met with the king and they discussed at length and at last arrived at the conclusion. A virgin in the village was to be prepared by the priest to go from one Akara seller stall to another with what he was going to give to her. She will hold it in her hand, and when she got to the stall of each Akara seller, she was to use whatever he'll give to her and stand and watch. When she got to the one that was responsible for the evil deed, her eyes will open spiritually to see the culprit. So when she got to the evil store, she was to also use it to touch the Akara seller, and she will see what will start happening. The seller will start to confess. The search was done for a virgin in the village without anyone knowing why such a search was being conducted. And Amaka, a virtuous virgin, was chosen by the priest as the right person to do the task. Amaka was surprised and was objecting, but her parents told her to accept the task because it was the order of the king. The king had ordered it. Thus, a day was fixed for the task to be done in the village without people knowing it. It was to be done on an Ore day. The Ore day started like any other one in Akara village. Everyone was busy doing their own thing, going about their daily chores. Amaka, the virtuous virgin chosen, clothed in white, and in her hand holding some native herbs prepared and given to her by the village priest, set out on the assignment given to her. Amaka started from one Akara seller stall to the other as she was directed by the priest. When she got to each stall, she would stand and look. But nothing, she did not see anything. She went round and had gone to almost all the village Akara seller stores, remaining only 3 of them. She was beginning to doubt if she could do the assignment. Why have I not seen anything? I've gone from one Akara seller store to the other. They are almost finished. Only 3 remaining. It means no one in this village is doing it. The priest must be lying, she thought. The priest must be lying. So, the 3 remaining, she had to set out to test the remaining 3 and give answers to the priest and the king. She came to Madame Jakpa's store. People were lined up as usual, buying turn by turn and clamoring for the Akara. It is my turn. Madame Jakpa, give me my Akara. It is me that came first. All of them were shouting. Madame Jakpa was saying, hold on, hold on. I will give all of you. I will serve you. Can't you see there's enough Akara to go round? Amaka was looking, and instead of joining the line, she moved off. They thought she wanted to buy Akara, but she moved off and she did not join the queue. Rather, she stood beside the Akara seller store watching. And immediately her eyes opened spiritually. And she was shocked at what she was seeing. Blood was flowing from those buying Akara into the frying pan the Akara seller was using to fry the Akara. She was shocked. Blood was flowing into the Akara pan. She wanted to shout, but realized that others were not seeing it all except for herself because The priest had prepared her, put something in her eyes so that she could see spiritually. Quickly, she moved close to Madame Jakpa and touched her with the herbs that the priest had instructed her to use. Instantly, Madame Jakpa screamed, "Why did you stop the flow of blood to my frying pan?" she shouted. And Amara noticed that the blood had stopped flowing. Everyone froze as she repeated her words, and voices began to murmur, What is she saying? What are we hearing? Look at now, Madame Jacquemin shouted. You made the blood to stop flowing. How will it be tasteful again for people to buy these Akara balls? Don't you know it is this blood that makes the Akara balls to be sweet? You want to make me to lose my customers? She continued to shout. She did not stop. Amaka and the others were dumbfounded. Madame Jacquemin continued to talk and confess until the priest came. The priest was called, and he came and took her away to the king's palace. There, Madame Jacquemin was made to release everyone spiritually that she had put in bondage through her caraballs. She was given 24 hours to revoke everything bad she had done to the villagers, otherwise she would be killed. Madame Jacquemin, after much confession, loved her life and did not want to die. So, in fright, she revoked everything she had done. And from that time onward, things began to change in the village. Madame Jacquemin was never allowed to fry caraballs again in the village. She was banished to the outskirts of the village, where she lived and in an old hut for the rest of her life. The village life returned to normalcy once again. That's why we must be careful of where we buy bean cakes, akara balls. Please help to share the video for it to get to a wider audience. Thanks for watching.